Hi guys, I'm here with Sanchit Garg. He is the CEO and founder of InnerFit. And I'm here today to ask him a few questions about his extremely exciting journey on fitness and technology and how they come together in his latest startup. Hi Sanchit.
Hi, Danny.
So Sanchit here is a serial entrepreneur and he has uh, done 10x profit for his last investors. He is filled with extremely exciting insights for startup founders. When I heard his pitch at IIT startups, I could not hold myself, but I just straight away went and asked him what is the secret of you coming up with one exciting startup after another, and what is the gyan you can give to new startup founders here. So Sanjay, tell us a little bit about your education and how did you come to your first startup.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you for the kind words and introduction.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give some introduction. I am natively from Jaipur, that's west part of India, the place of the pink city and all. Then I did my graduation from IIT Bombay in computer science. After that, I started TravelTriangle. We took a concept, a holiday marketplace from scratch, built it to a 700 plus team members, $100 million plus value, and raised multiple amounts of funding in between from Silicon Valley, India, Singapore, and so on.
Nice.
And excitingly, in between, as the company was growing fast, and as a founder and a chief product officer, I had my share of, challenges and stress. That's when my investors recommended me a professional coach. And my coach was a behavioral science psychology expert. She identified my own emotional intelligence underlying patterns, and then one by one helped me improve them.
Awesome.
And I started seeing a lot of changes. I became much more productive, confident, even in high pressure situations. That's one line. On the other side, I took up meditation and learned a lot on how to self-evaluate yourself and codify the things in meditation and the coaching.
Awesome.
So I became I saw my peers, my colleagues all having similar problems, but they would not be able to afford for a coach or stick to a meditation. And that's when I thought, how can I bring the same solution in a more engaging and a cost-effective way to the masses? And that's where InnerFit came in.
Awesome. This is a very good example of need-based innovation, and with the US healthcare model being so lucrative, people cannot afford services. Mental health and wellness is a top healthcare trend, and there's a lot of innovation going on here. And innovators like Sanchit have some insights on how wellness can be democratized. Now, before we come to that, what is your advice to startup founders, to go and follow their impulse on a startup, but also make sure they do it properly? How can they do it? Because you did your first startup in a travel industry, and now it is wellness, and both ways you are successful.
Right.
And you have found a burning need, and obviously there is a lot of skill. So what is your advice to startup owners?
I think my advice is that a startup has lots of ups and downs, and when it is up, it's all good, and that's what you see on social medias. But when it is down, it's just you. For you to survive in those downs, you need to be very confident on why you are doing the startup. Right? What is the reason of doing the startup?
Oh, I love this answer.
If your reason is that you got bored of job, or your friend is doing it. I mean, I started TravelTriangle because of that. Hey, I wanted to grow fast, and maybe this is a great way to grow, right? And but InnerFit I started because I am not here to build another big company. I'm here to solve a problem. The problem of emotional intelligence and the fitness for the masses actually excites me. I don't think there's anything else that I can do worth better than this.
So guys, here are the two takeaways. One takeaway is do something exciting and meaningful so that you can survive the ups and downs, and do it because you believe in it.
I agree, totally.
Right? Yeah.
I believe in it because I've gone through that. I have spent my 2 years in that journey, getting pickled in the coaching, in the meditation, and codifying them and seeing things. And I saw my life going boom, boom, boom. So that I want to bring it to everyone.
Great, awesome. We'll take one pause. Great, awesome. So Sanchit, you were just telling me that having a meaningful purpose is great for startup founders to survive ups and downs. The question I wanted to pose to you was, 9 out of 10 startups are failing, and one of the popular reasons is lack of product market fit.
Right.
They bring in an idea with a lot of passion, and then it doesn't work. So what is your advice to startup founders about product market fit?
Whoa. I think that's a very subjective question which depends on industry and so many things, right? I believe that tech will eat the world, the software will eat the world.
Software will eat the world.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, if you create something with technology, and if it is good enough, it will scale and become a wildfire. So I believe in product as a fundamental thing, the power of product. And second thing I believe is communities.
Communities.
Right, whether it's Uber driver community or the health professionals community. These community or the coaches here, right? These communities have to come together. So what I'm trying to say is that, unless you are in a business where scalability is a problem, then even if you are successful, it's going to fail, right? And I see a lot of people creating products which are not scalable.
But they're good products, but they're
good
not
products.
Scalable.
Yes, so that's a problem. Secondly, if the product is scalable because of tech fundamentals, I think 10% success rate is a high ratio. Stick to that. You will be there sometimes, you will not be there sometimes. And there are so many frameworks already on internet to evaluate that. I don't have a lot of advice there. I do want to say one thing, that don't let frameworks available limit you.
Yeah, this is what I'm hearing from a lot of industry practitioners, like in consulting and in top C level and VP level. They say frameworks are a good starting point, but they limit.
Right.
Where do you think they limit people?
So what is a framework? Framework is an abstraction of any generic problem. Right?
Yeah.
Now this abstraction is like a smooth 1, 2, 3, 4 step process.
Yeah.
It's good for a newbie, but the real creativity and innovation lies beyond this. This is like, hey, I have checkmarked all the things and it looks good.
Yeah.
And it's great, right? If you want to scale anything, the framework is the way to scale.
Yeah.
But startups succeed when they innovate on the organicness of the problem. And you can never capture the organicness of the problem. When I ran my previous company, there was no framework 10 years back, especially in India.
Yeah.
So we had to brute force everything. We learned everything from scratch. We knew how to talk to travelers or customers and how to understand things and what to do next. If you just follow frameworks, you lack all of that in-depth understanding. And you just do 1, 2, 3. Hey, this is the framework to evaluate what is the value proposition. This is the framework for this, which is great because it is easy to communicate. But it is not a guarantee that you understand the in-depth problem.
So guys, the lesson, the takeaway is entrepreneurs and startup owners should be open to the organicness of the problem. To be you harness frameworks, you use them as a starting point, but be ready to go all over the place to be able to handle the organicness of the problem, which is great. And do you have any insights on how to do that? How do you become bold to handle unpredictable challenges and organicness of a problem?
I think you answered that. In my opinion, the word is bold. Be bold.
Okay.
Because everyone will give you frameworks.
Everybody
whether it is
gives
accelerators or the books or any advisor, it's all frameworks.
Yeah.
Because that is how they can communicate to hundreds of people.
Yeah.
But be bold.
Yeah.
Understand that you are solving a unique problem. That's why you're a startup.
Awesome.
Right?
Awesome.
So go there.
Awesome. So I get this question a lot from startup founders. Is like, I have this idea, I have like a day job, I know this idea is going to work. When is the right time to quit my day job and do the startup? Or should I do both together? Or what is the good way to do it?
I think, so again, there's no right answer or wrong answer to this. The way I jumped in is because I believe that this is what I wanted to do. There's nothing else I wanted to do other than this. and that brings in a lot of financial constraints, a lot of other problems. You have to make the decision along with your family and everything, and you have to convince them, and you have to also then make up for all of those things. But the bottom line is, if you're okay with leaving all of those comfort zones, it's okay. But if you're too attached to those comfort zones of
security,
safety, and even like good house and daily shopping and eating out and all those things, then it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
So you have to like pick the one priority in your life and go for it.
Yeah.
My one priority in my life is this idea. So that's where I am.
So guys, I totally agree with him. Who in the Silicon Valley here has not faced this problem? You want to have a good lifestyle, but you also want to do a startup. What is it that you give up and what is it that you stick to? So this is a great idea. Focus on your startup idea and make sure your family and friends are on board with it. And say no to things you cannot afford to. That's really a great advice to budding startup owners. Now, with that, I want to move slightly into your startup journey phase, and I want to pick on those moments where you felt you were ready to go to the VC. I want to analyze that. So in your first startup, how did you decide, okay, now we are going to the VC, now our product is ready? What were all the parameters to evaluate
right.
going to
So
VC?
let me be very frank. My first startup was 10 years back.
Right.
There were no frameworks. In India, the VC industry was so native, and there were like maybe 5 or 6 companies which were funded when we started going to VCs. We literally like went to, just 2 kids on the bike. We roam around with VCs and no one funded us. But then someone who was a college senior and who believed in us just funded us.
So you okay. So he was like an angel.
He was an angel. And that is the first moment. What in my experience, don't ask about my first startup because there was no framework involved.
This was in India. It was an emerging market. It's a primitive VC framework.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I understand. But what is it like now in the US? So you moved from India to US. What was this? How was this transition planned?
The transition was planned very interestingly. So I let my previous company know that, look, I have to move out, but I will make sure the company is stable with all the top leadership set and everything all good, the roadmap set. And then me and my wife with a kid, we just moved here with 3 suitcases.
Gosh. And what was that's like, okay.
Yeah, because we wanted to do a zero accounting, so zero-based accounting kind of a thing. So we moved here, we created our own new financial identity, new bank, new credit card, new security numbers. Everything was like, new house, all the kitchen new. So we designed the whole life based on our priorities from zero. We didn't bring any clothes and nothing from India.
Wow, so that is exciting. So what was this? This is really curious. So was this like a mindfulness initiative, like in your life, like you wanted to grow more mindful about what life is all about? Was it too successful, the first startup, and you experienced a lot of luxuries, you want to walk away from it? Or?
No, it was not that. I love luxuries. The thing is, once you are living over 10-15 years in a place, you create a lot of baggage. For example, on the phone, you have so many WhatsApp groups you don't want to be part of. You have credit cards you don't want to be aligned with. You have you have a car which you no more like. You have clothes which are there in wardrobe because you purchased them 5 years back, and so on.
So this is called minimalism. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. So I think I'm a minimalist. When I moved here, then I designed everything, like what kind of clothes I want to carry, where to carry my brand, what kind of life I want, where's my priority, and then like the kitchen was designed accordingly. My WhatsApp phone and groups and all the apps that are on phone were designed accordingly. So I spent some time, 2 months, to design everything. The result, right now I don't have any operational hassle in my life. What I want to do, all my time and energy is on one thing.
So Sanchit is in a Zen mode to do his next startup on mindfulness. Everything is very well aligned. All the stars are well aligned. So and it's working. You found your seed funding and you're on to the next round of funding, isn't it?
Yes. So then I moved to Bay Area and I realized that it's very different from India. Here you have very high quality people.
High quality people. I want to harp on that. What do you mean by that? So, nobody wastes time here. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, like all the new companies, big unicorns, are mostly coming out of Bay Area. So people have been in these companies and have gained the experience to a degree, right? This talent is nowhere else in the world, at least not in India, for sure. It is coming up in the tech product side, but not in the other spheres. That is first. Second, I found people who have done computer science degrees, then they have been psychology researchers, then they have been like an architect. So if you want to find an overlap of different kind of people, this is the place.
Right. No, you're right.
People here just are super specialized with multiple overlapping fields at the intersection where exactly what you want. So I wanted a computer science engineer who has been a psychologist. I found him.
Okay, this is great. So I have a friend in Stanford. He's a faculty in Stanford. His name is Ajit Singh, and he did a talk how Silicon Valley is like a Galapagos island. It like captures evolution of all species on one island, and that's because any species can come and latch on, and they grow very creatively. So Silicon Valley is like that. All kinds of
yeah, totally. And then I also saw one more difference in Bay Area. I found two kind of advisors. One, high quality advisors, high quality advice. They don't care about anything, equity, commercials. You do whatever you want to do. Take my help, and I had to offer them things.
Right.
Second category, low quality advice. On the first they say I want 5% equity. So I mean, just very drastic differences but everyone would create such a strong marketing aura around them. It's just difficult to know from their marketing aura unless you talk to them.
So can you? We still have to go back to the question of when you're ready to talk to VC for your second company, how you figured out. But before that, how do you know when you talk to a person that this person is high quality or not? I understand you ask a lot of questions when you meet someone.
Right.
But other than that, what are some of the tips for our listeners to take away about this?
I think a high quality person will never give you advice. He will ask you right questions and let you figure it out, because he knows that it is your context, it is your world. And even if you are, he doesn't understand those with his frameworks. Even if he does, it is, you have to evolve for that. And you will see the quality of style, quality of, the advice. How much it adds value in your system, how much you understand that. And I mean, there are the signals that are there. I don't have a framework to evaluate those things, but it just shows up.
Yeah. So I totally agree with you. There was one marketing person I worked with for my first book. He spoke less, and then he was very candid, and he never marketed himself. He's one of the best mentors I've had. Unfortunately, we had a lot of disagreements, but I know what you're saying. He does celebrity coaching now. He's very big. He has his own startup. But I know exactly what you're saying. So you're saying that if you want to find high quality people, look for people who are not about numbers, but they are about impact. They're actually creating impact, or
they're creating impact by coming in your context, not giving you advice in their context, in their frameworks. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, that's also a very good way of figuring out product market fit.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, are you going to the consumer's framework instead of bringing them to your framework?
Actually, that's a good point. A lot of engineers like me think of solution first, and then they try to fit the customers on it.
Yeah.
It's just so hard for me to change the mindset to think for the customers first and then fit my product there.
But you do that. You do that hard work.
We have
you do that. And how do you do that? How do you slow yourself down? Take yourself out of your framework and
don't think about your product.
Don't think about your product.
First
oh
talk
my
to
god,
customers.
I love that answer.
First talk to customers.
First
be
talk
with
to
them.
customers. Oh my god.
Don't tell them what you are doing at all.
Nice.
Understand what they are saying, what their problem is, and stick there. Don't bring your bias that you have a great problem, great solution, or whatever. Forget about it.
This is high quality advice. No, seriously, a lot of startups are failing because they're so far ahead in their product design. They've invested so much money, time away from everything else into the product, and it's not what the customer wants. So.
And this is the most widely available advice on internet. Be
that
close
talk
to
the
customer. And yet it is so difficult. So, I mean, everyone has emphasized on the same.
Yeah, this is also in the design thinking, Stanford design thinking, it's very customer centric and very popular for a good reason.
I agree.
Yeah. So,
and now to talk to investors, right?
Yeah, we have to get back to that.
Right. To talk to investors, I think there are two kinds of investors. One who will invest in you, no matter what you're doing. They are the friends, families, mentors, the first level network who have seen you do well before. take their money. I took
Take their money.
I took their
Okay,
money.
that's an advice. Take their money.
And obviously you take their money with lot of when I took their money, I have sense of responsibility that I want to make sure that that money is put for the best use.
Of course.
That commitment you have to have.
Okay.
Other than that, no one will pay you money unless you have a proper business model which proves traction and everything.
Proper business model.
Yeah.
So you have an answer to how you make money and what you do making money. Who are you impacting making your money?
Right.
So can you tell me your version?
Right.
When do you...
So for example, at InnerFit, right? Earlier when it was a concept, no one will. It's like a very abstract concept that we are taking emotional intelligence to people via app without people, without human in the loop.
Exactly.
Right? It's a very abstract concept. No matter how much I tell you, you won't believe this. But if I have to go to a VC, I have to say him that look, I made my MVP and my minimal viable product is doing well with anonymous random users at a large scale testing. That's the first step where he will start seeing you. You need to do that. Because now VC has an overview, right? And he, every VC will, that is where someone who does not trust you inherently needs to trust something else. And so that is this validation, and that validation could be traction, first customer testimonial, second customer testimonial, but you need to have some proof which he can trust, which is objective and not just you.
Yeah, so the takeaway here is VCs look for a scale of adoption of your product or the prototype you're building, and it should work, it should create impact.
Right.
And whether or not the VC knows you or personally or not, this impact is going to validate your idea to the VC, and that's what you need to create as a startup founder.
And this is especially important in my area because I'm creating something very new. I mean, the coaching is not yet a good market out there. In case of proven markets, similar products, then maybe you need to prove more that, hey, there are 10 competitors that exist. I'm the 11th one, but I have an inherent advantage. I will beat all of them out. In that case, you don't have to prove the validity, but maybe execution speed and all those things. In my space, I give you the context.
So, can you elaborate more on what you mean by execution speed? If you're first in line or you're the first person in the market?
So, because it's a very new industry, the coaching industry and the emotional intelligence, I have to prove the solution and the validity of it, efficacy of it.
So you carry the weight, but you also have first mover advantage.
Exactly.
Okay.
But had I been fifth mover or fourth mover,
then you have
the
a precedent.
The solution has already been proven in the market.
Yeah.
Then I need to prove that I can beat all of them and move faster.
Yeah, but you're also getting into red ocean.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Great. And any tips you want to share with them about how to talk to a VC? How you should appear to a VC?
So there are two schools of thoughts there.
Two schools of thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I talk to some of my mentors and other people, they say that look like you don't need them.
Look like it.
And second is be yourself. So choose your school. Things work for each other.
Yeah. But most importantly, you've done your due diligence, right? I've been through a few pitch events, and I just observed the people judging the pitches. They like a lot of detail on the pitch. Obviously, one of them is scale and adoption of your MVP, the traction. What else is good to have on the slide? Is it like a story, or is it something else other than what other common people do in a pitch?
So I think I'm not the best person to give the advice because I anyway read from multiple books on these. But what I've read the most thing is that story is what sells.
Story sells.
And data is what proves the story.
Data proves the story. Story sells and data proves the story.
Right.
This is an amazing takeaway.
Yeah, because people get moved with their emotions, and they're looking for data to sort of support those emotions.
Awesome.
People don't, like you said 10 billion, 5 billion, 2 million, they're numbers. But it's not about what numbers mean. It's about what story is and how that story is supported by numbers. That is the biggest learning I had recently about the pitching session.
Awesome.
But there are so many better resources about pitching that you guys can refer.
Awesome. So yeah, you're the first mover in your space and mindfulness. I was there at your pitch event, and I remembered you very specifically because of your story. You had a story. Everyone else had impact metrics, but you had a story, and it was very relatable for me. And Yeah, that's a great advice. So I would say users can look at storytelling templates, rehearse in front of the mirror,
Yeah.
and do you plan for those moments where people choke on your pitch deck presentation, or?
I won't say choke, but yeah, I mean, story is something like, hey, there's a character who does something every day, and suddenly when something happens and he falls down,
Mm-hmm.
and then something happens, he comes up.
Right, like a hero story.
Yeah,
a
yeah. And
hero
then the
story
struggle
journey.
for him to come up, and there are challenges, tussle,
Right, right.
and then he moves forward.
Right.
Till a day comes when everything becomes great, and
Okay.
there's a sunshine day.
Awesome.
So you have to create that kind of a story. It's
That's a
story.
nice storytelling template for listeners and viewers to take. It's called a hero story. There are a lot of storytelling templates like that. So make sure when you're going to meet your VC next, you have your template in place. There's another question I like to. Most startup founders have they split after their first round of funding or second round when they scale. And even when they do a startup together, they're not able to take the pressure and stick together. So what is your advice for people who are forming a team?
Whoa.
Like the best, it's like the best part because you found a partner and
Yeah.
you want to go ahead. But it's also the worst part when they go away.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. I think it's a very good question. From my previous company, we were 3 co-founders.
Gosh.
We are there for 8-9 years.
9 years?
Yeah, I mean, and today also, like, it's the same chemistry.
Wow. Like
But-
a family.
Like a family, and like, and the big thing is that so my mantra is that we had a relationship before we came together in professional life.
And that was
We all three were school friends, had
school
a lunches
friends.
together.
Ah.
So what I realized is that creating a trust is the most important thing.
Creating trust is the most important.
Right. I mean, obviously, if you're not performing well, or you're not collaborating well, or you're a jerk, then anyway it will not happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying even if everything is right, 1 + 1 has to be 11. I'm assuming that people are good enough, performing and all those things. Then trust becomes the most important factor. It cannot come, it rarely comes after you have started a professional life. Think about this. How many friends do you made in your previous companies who you are still in touch with? Versus how many friends you made first and then you work together and it still lasts long.
Yeah.
So I mean, in my experience, friends outside the company and then starting the company is the core fundamental.
It's the core fundamental. Like you're not exactly in a competitive space. You're more looking at the other person to bond with them as a friend.
Right.
And the chemistry works, and then you bring that to your workspace.
Right.
And then that's one of the more short ways of becoming successful. I kind of like that.
Yeah, and I have tried all the frameworks, and this is your responsibility, this is my responsibility, and this is how we will resolve the conflicts. Without trust, nothing works.
Yeah, nothing works.
They're all short-term hacks.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And with my co-author currently, I have so much respect for her. I trust what she's doing. I believe she has all her challenges and still we work on the book together. Yeah, so how do you define trust? Like, what is trust? For me, it is more admiration that she's doing something so big and I want to believe what she does and support her and be with her. And it's
trust,
more like
right?
Respect, or what is trust?
So I think trust is that the other person will think about me equally as he's thinking about himself. So there will be many times.
Compassion. It's some sort of compassion.
Yeah, compassion, and he's not there to optimize for himself. He's there to optimize for us.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I like that. It's
because in startup there will be so many moments when one has to make a decision for everyone, and those decisions, any discussion is fine, but ultimately someone has to decide.
Yeah.
If you don't have that trust, it becomes a very wild wall after some time.
Yeah. So this is a great insight. Trust and compassion, these are the most valued traits in a leader who wants to accomplish big things. So Sanchit here wants to revolutionize mental health and wellness space, and it's coming from him. He knows the space well. I'm sure you're dealing with compassion metrics in your
for sure.
There you go. I can almost feel your energy. You're so calm and grounded, but you're talking about big things. I think we can go on forever, but
I agree.
We should call this day. And what is one of your parting advice to startup founders, and in the innovator community, whether they're inside a company or outside, innovators are everywhere,
Right.
in every form.
Right.
What is your one advice, which is very close to your heart, you want to share?
Okay. So I would say, if you are an innovator, find a place where you can innovate.
Wow.
Because a lot of times innovation cannot go through if there's a red tape. Innovation is not something everyone understands, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone will come along with you.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a power to innovate and execute and have budgets and decide things, it becomes impossible to innovate. So if you're an innovator, find a place where you have all the authority to innovate.
Wow.
Otherwise, it will become a too many cooks spoil the food kind of innovation.
Wow, awesome. Great advice. And a place to innovate, it can be in different forms. Is it a group of friends who allow you to think, or is it your government of the place you live in? Is it the government policy, or do you get tax breaks? There are a lot of things which...
Even in the company, if you're innovating inside the company, make sure that the ecosystem is provided in a way that you have enough power to get the resources, do the planning, execute, you have the budget, your manager understands and gives you time for it and all those things.
Wow.
He has bought in the stakes, in the risk, ups and downs.
Awesome.
Or do things of your own.
Awesome.
But innovating in a place where you are not the only decision maker,
it ruins innovation. Yeah. You have to have enough autonomy. So there is this theory of innovation. I'm working on it, where 3 things are important. One is relatedness. People around you should relate to what you do. You should have autonomy, and you should be competent. 3 things.
Right.
And you're talking about all 3 in terms of a framework. So like incubators, accelerators, they are great place to be as well. But then autonomy is again an issue there. But
I think accelerators, at least IIT startups, did provide me a lot of autonomy.
IIT startups provided a lot of autonomy too. And support as well.
I agree.
Okay,
totally.
Great, awesome. Anything you want to request your listeners to collaborate with you? Anything?
Right. So I am taking emotional intelligence to millions of people by putting the exercises in psychology, behavioral science on an app in fun, engaging way.
And your app is called
InnerFit.
InnerFit. Your app is called InnerFit. Is the name of a company as well.
And I'm looking for collaborations. If you're interested in psychology, if you're a wellness coach, or you are an investor who wants to invest in emotional intelligence, happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you, Sanchit, for the most insightful interview. I'm sure
My pleasure.
It'll impact a lot of startup founders. You're laughing, but I know this is a very high impact interview I captured. I hope to give good shape to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.